Hey guys, thanks for joining me. This is going to be part one in a series of hopefully quite a few videos on this 1999 Chris Craft 240 Bowrider. This is a project boat I just picked up for what I think was a good deal. So I'll be going through fixing up a few mostly cosmetic issues on this boat, and hopefully nothing too major with the engine and the outdrive. But I'll take you on a quick tour here and show you what it looks like from the inside and the outside. As you can see here, the gel coat it's got a bit of oxidization. You can see there's some patches here and there, some scuffs and scratches I'll have to take care of. On the starboard side here, towards the front of the bow, you can see I think there's 11, looks like, holes here that have been repaired. This is, take a wild guess at what that was, or what I think that was. So that's been repaired. There's just a few cracks there that I'll have to deal with at some point. Overall, on the starboard side, not too bad. Just coming around to the port side. This side must have sat in the sun more, because you can see there's quite a bit more oxidization. A little bit of a scuff here near the porthole. You can see the paint's pretty oxidized. There's a bit of a, I'll show you that better from the inside, a bit of a pretty good ding in the fiberglass. See, it's pretty oxidized up there. Coming around, the Chris Craft emblems they're in great shape. You see there's a little bit of staining just from the water that's run off from underneath them. And a couple of just crappy repairs that have been done here that'll have to be redone. Outdrive, it's a Volvo SX drive. It's been rebuilt and resealed, so hopefully there'll be no issues with that. This boat does have trim tabs. They are not working at this time, but hopefully I'll be able to get those working. Take you into the inside here, up in the bow. Pretty good shape. The side panels are in really good shape. No, not really any damage there. The speakers have been removed, but it looks like they work. There's a bit of a scuff there on the seat. The seats are actually not in the greatest shape. They're going to need to be replaced. They don't look too bad, but there's some water damage to the foam and the wood. See, yeah, speakers have just been removed. I'll be putting new ones in most likely. Down here, pretty good sized storage space. The carpet, it doesn't look great in the video, but it's actually in really good shape. There's no water damage or anything that I can tell. A little bit of a crappy repair there. Here's a shot of that damage. It actually looks quite a bit worse than it is. It's all the way through the gel coat, and it was repaired, but it just wasn't done very well. So I'll have to fix that up. The actual fiberglass is pretty solid though. Here, this window support needs to be fixed. Fuel gauge is missing. These seats they're not original. They were replaced, and they look to be in pretty good shape as far as I can tell. Screwed to the floor though, they are a little bit loose, so I don't know if that'll be as simple as just tightening them up, or if it'll need some repair to the floor. Shifter's a little bit loose. See if I can fix that. Coming back, sorry for the mess here. It's just cleaning it up right now. This aft seat here is torn, so that'll be replaced. It's in pretty rough shape. Side panel's okay, but I'll be replacing those. This one is a little bit ripped, and you can see this seat's quite a bit of water damage, so that'll be replaced. And the biggest cosmetic issue for me here is this back seat. You can see it used to be a fiberglass piece there, and they've replaced it with some kind of chunk of wood and some foam, so I'll be ripping that out and completely rebuilding that. So that'll be the biggest project cosmetically, I think. Up here at the front, this is one of the most, I guess, appealing things about this boat for me. So I have kids. Right behind here opens up, and you have a pretty good sized, either it could be a change room, but we'll turn it into a little bathroom for the kids. That'll work great. here there's another compartment, good amount of storage there, and this is your access for the wiring, and there's an amp there. I don't think that works. So that's about it for the inside. So next I'll be taking you through the rebuild of my the back seat there, starting with a new wood piece that I'll be rebuilding. Alright, so as you can see, I've removed that old wooden form there. It was really heavy. I basically just put a bunch of foam down and I had to pretty much throw it off the back of the boat. You can see it here. It's all made out of some pine boards and mostly 3/4 inch plywood, so it's very, very heavy. They've even added some metal brackets and supports and stuff like that which has really increased the weight. So what I'm going to be doing next here is creating a pattern of that top piece, and I'll be tracing that pattern onto some plywood so I can start rebuilding this. Alright, so what I've done is I've taken some sheets of bubble wrap. You can, and you should, use patterning material. I just didn't have any, so I took this up onto the boat, taped it up, and traced out the actual shape of the that top piece that where it has to fit in. And next I'll be taking this over and tracing the outside line onto my piece of plywood so that I can start cutting out that the top piece. Alright, so here's my piece of let's call it patterning material, my bubble wrap. I've checked it against the shape inside the boat as well as the old form to make sure that it matches, and it lines up pretty well. So now I just have to lay it out on this piece of plywood and measure it out, make sure that it's sitting nice and flat on there. I have made, you'll see here, I've made 3 marks. The first one is the current length of the old form. This line is where the foam starts for the side panels, and this line's for the lip, and that's where this actually sits on top of. So what I've done is I've measured between the 2 ends of the old points, and it's 79 inches. So I need to make sure that the outside of this pattern here and over there is 79 inches apart exactly. See here, it's about a 1/2 inch away from the edge. So then you can see over here, it should be right around, it should be exactly 79.5 inches. So that is perfect. So I'll tape this down now and measure at a few other spots to make sure I've got this laying nice and flat. As I've taken one other spot that I measured out in the boat and determined at this location, the width should be 77 3/4 inches. So try my best to measure from this line and from this line to the other side. Should be pretty much exactly 77 3/4. It's just a little bit off there, but not too bad. I think maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch or so. Just keep adjusting this till I get it right. So it's actually, it looks like it's probably about 1/4 of an inch off, so I'll just adjust my line until I get it right. Alright, so I got my lines right, and I cut out the one side here. I also made a little notch there so that it'll fit around the side panel while I test it out. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Alright, so I got the whole thing cut out now, and I've got it laying on top of the old piece here. You can see it fits pretty well. There's a couple spots that I still need to fix up. So I do want to allow a little bit more space than they had on the old one, because I'll be adding some vinyl, some foam, and I'll be doing a little bit of fiberglass work to the plywood as well. So I will just give myself a little bit more space. Next I'm going to be cutting out the inside, and then I'll take it up onto the boat and show you how it fits. There it is. I've cut out the inside portion of that, and you can see I've got it fitting pretty well. There's about a 1/2 inch of a gap all the way around, so I'm going to try and I'll sand it and shape it a little bit more so that I can get that as perfect as possible all the way around. Right at the back side, it's a little bit of a spot that I have to fix up. But other than that, I think I've got it fitting pretty well. do a little bit more shaping, and it should be good to go. Alright, so I didn't really show it, but what I did was I took the cutout that I had from the last piece, and I'm using that as the seat. So I'm going to take a few measurements here. It's kind of a curved shape that fits in there, so I'll take a few measurements, and I'll start to cut out that shape out of this cutout that I had from the top piece. So I'll do that and see how that looks. Alright, so I've kind of cut out a shape here. I took a couple of measurements and just cut it out as best I could. I didn't have a really great way of patterning this, just in the location it's in. And the port side and starboard side are actually slightly different. So I took a couple measurements, and what I'll be doing is just going back and forth and cutting it until I get this piece to fit as perfectly as possible. So after 3 or 4 tries, 3 or 4 cuts, I think I've got it fitting pretty well. There's a little bit of a gap right there that I'm going to have to fix up, but other than that, I think I've got it fitting pretty well here. Next, I'll have to make the side support pieces that connect the top piece to the seat. They're slightly different on the port and starboard sides, as well as they sit in a different location on either side. So I've gone into the boat and I've measured out the 2 pieces that I need. Here's the measurements here. I'm going to make the back corner square. So I'll just have to do a little bit of math here to try and figure out the angle and the length for the top there. And then I'll draw it out on here. That's my square edge. Draw it out on here, cut it out, and see how it fits. Jumping ahead a little bit, I've got both sides cut out now. They fit pretty well, I think. They do fit in the boat well so far, and I've just got them drilled and screwed for now. But I will be taking it all apart and gluing everything up and screwing it back together. Okay, I apologize, I've jumped way ahead here now. I didn't end up filming a lot of the stuff that I did here, but what I've done is created supports all the way around the frame here, and this will allow me to basically mold some 1/8 inch plywood all the way around. You can see these are just using pieces of 3/4 inch ply. I've cut them on the correct angles, and then drawn a line on the bottom where I want the inside of the seat to be. So I'll be gluing and screwing all of these pieces in. And one thing I should mention is that as I've been putting all this together, I've been taking it in and out of the boat just to make sure that the whole thing fits properly and that nothing changes when I add a piece. So here's the 1/8 inch ply that I'll be using. It's birch, I believe. Be using some bigger pieces for the more flat areas, and then I'll be cutting the other ones into strips for those hard turns. And I'll also be wetting and bending this wood just to help those curves a little bit. So I've wet out these 2 pieces of plywood, and I've just started to angle them around the curves there, just to start to get them to curve a little bit. And then, like I said before, I'll be cutting them up, smaller strips to go around the tight curves there, and then bigger pieces for the back piece there. And hopefully that'll take the curve pretty well. Alright, so I've cut up a few strips here and glued them down, nailed them in. I will be feathering that edge a little bit so that it's nice. This probably isn't the best way of doing this, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be fiberglassing over top of a lot of this anyways, and then there's going to be foam and vinyl and everything, so you'll never see any of this. It does take the curve pretty well at the top, not as well at the bottom. It's a little bit kind of straight there at the bottom, but now you won't even be able to tell once the fiberglass and the foam and everything's all done. So I'll keep going, and I'll do the other side as well as the middle there, and then do some sanding. It'll be time for fiberglass. So here's the rest of the back panel done. This side turned out a little bit better than the other side, I think, and I think that's due to the width. I used a wider piece for the main curve, and I think it took that curve quite a bit better. So that'll be the end of part 1. Next I'll be doing all the sanding, get all the edges nice and smooth, and then I'll do the fiberglass work, and I'll paint the whole thing as well. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and if you have any advice for myself or others, comment below. Thanks for watching.